But maybe we can, if it's okay with you, Marguerite, maybe we can kind of do the PR earlier than some of the other items. If that's okay with you.
All right, get it over with. Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to put it after expense report or do you want to put it after
Yeah.
minutes?
I think after expense report's good. Okay, we are live on YouTube.
Thank you. All right. Um, all right, it is 11:05. It is the 15th of September, and this is the South Florida Library Board of Trustees semi-monthly meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and our first order of business is the approval of the minutes from August 25th, 2025. Do I have any emendations or corrections?
I have a little one.
Okay.
Under the paragraph on parking lot on the second page,
Yep.
it says trustee Yazdani seconded, trustees Landry, Maney, David, Ekberg, Tinty, and Yazdani, period. I think it needs to say voted in favor.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it for me.
And I just have a quick question. Under this section, oh, now I'm not going to remember the section, but there is a section where it says, it talks about the artist reception that is forthcoming. I didn't know if it was important to name the artist in any way, just to have that on record for history, or whether it was okay as is.
I can add that.
Amanda Oakleaf.
Amanda Oakleaf.
Mm.
Might just be
Amanda, what
nice.
is it?
It's under events was the specific subheading.
Yeah.
There was two grammatical errors. So Andy DeVita, the V should be capitalized. That's on the second page. And then under the FY26 budget, there was a slight problem with either multiple periods or the period wasn't in the right place. So I was already grammatically correcting that before the meeting started, but I just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay. Who is the artist for the events? Apropos of Mary's question, what is
It's
the name?
Amanda Oakleaf is the young lady's name.
Oakleaf. Okay. All right. There.
Great name.
Really. It's hard to think.
And then
that could be
Annie.
actually All right. Any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, I move that we accept the minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Janet seconds. Landry, aye.
Ekberg, aye.
Yes, Donnie, I.
Cynthia, I.
Aye.
And Jane did aye, but I think Jane was muted, right?
Am I muted?
No,
you're
you're
just
not.
quiet. You're just quiet as usual. Okay.
I can't find my earbuds, so I'm gonna, those work better, but they're MIA at the moment.
We can hear you, Jane. I can hear
Okay.
you fine. Yeah.
Good.
David
Okay.
has said that he has trouble hearing me, so I
Yeah.
will speak loudly.
Well, it's not so much to have trouble hearing you, it's just that the tone comes through kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but a little
Muffled.
fuzzy.
Yeah, muffled.
I can hear you all right.
Okay, I think it works better with the earbuds, but that'll be next time when they read
All
it.
right.
Okay.
Okay, and let us move on to the director's report.
Okay. Were there any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Which pertains to my great relief for everyone that when things migrate for the website, you're able to keep the domain name and everything. And I wondered if that included like the extensions. So like all of the subheading pages, like for example, the friends, does that is all included unchanged? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I believe that sub pages will be the same. I think we were using a lot of bit.ly addresses, which is another third party. Like
Yep.
it's basically a redirect website. We're not losing access to any of that. And then if the web address does change, we would be able to update the bit.ly so that we could use the same bit.ly short address
Yep.
to redirect to the right area of the website.
Yep, that's great. I just remember in past iterations of this, sometimes pages were lost to the great regret of the staff who then had to kind of recreate things.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I can say about our revised website is you're going to see a leaner web presence. And that was mainly because we built a lot of content pieces during the COVID shutdown. And we found that, like, part of the idea was to do sort of readers advisory service and recommend books through the website, which I think was great when we were shut down. And then we used it for a little while after. We've like printed these for people, we've referred them to the website. People just would rather talk with their staff and get
Yeah.
a word of mouth recommendation. Also, people tend to focus more on what's new, but at this point, those books are old. So, not old really, but they're like several years being on the website, and we just don't have the time or the capacity to update those. So, we're kind of looking at what is the information that's absolutely necessary, and then what are the things that we can update and will update moving forward. But this is going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a dynamic thing. So if you guys have feedback for the website, please feel free to get in touch with me as we go. And I'm very open to that because if it's something that you're going to the website to refer to, I want to have it up.
I have just a quick comment. Hats off to whoever is involved for coming up with a sign language interpreter. We certainly can't be accused of not being widely inclusive, I guess I want to say. So hats off.
Mhm.
Um, well, I will take credit. I guess I'm the one who had to find that. I will also, our college student who was here over the summer, Jackson Harris, helped me research that. But we had a very quick turnaround time to try to find interpreting service. We are going to have to pay for it. We're going to have to pay almost as much for the interpreter as we did for the program. I think the interpreter is 250 and the program costs 300. So that gives you an
Oh.
idea of how much something like this costs. But it also has led to additional conversations where if we ever had to do this in person, this was for a virtual program. If we had to provide the service in person, how would we go about that? I've talked a lot with my contemporaries at the senior center and recreation and youth and family services who were very helpful. But town doesn't get a lot of requests for these. And we later found out after we set up the interpreter, we did talk to the person who made the request who felt comfortable sharing that they live in Idaho and
Huh.
found our program through Google Alerts. So we've clarified a lot of things in our program listings, including that the intended audience is for our local community and surrounding towns. So
I think Idaho's pretty cool to have a.
Yeah.
we actually had two separate interpreters. We had one who like did it for the first hour and then one who did it for the second hour. So it's kind of nice. I liked seeing it, to tell you the truth. I peeked in on the program just to see how it was working. So
Is
Is
this a first
ASL
for us, Ryan?
yeah, we've never had
Yeah, that's remarkable.
ASL interpreter before. I think
Terrific.
one of the first for a public program for the town. I don't think think they had one at one point in recreation meetings, but not for a public program.
ASL taught in any of the schools?
Not to my knowledge. There's a school in Framingham we've learned for the deaf that we can reach out to if we want in-person interpreter services. But like the virtual service, we will have to pay for the interpreter to come out. So
There's actually a state bill that is going up for having ASL in all the schools, so.
yes, and Amy was very helpful. She gave me some additional information when I spoke with her about this last week. So there's a way to sort of request this from the state. So we're kind of exploring that. But I think we need much more time notification than this person had provided. So
Independent of that, and Amy, somehow I knew you would know the answer to that question, but it seems like it might be a good direction to go in for something that links with the schools if they do start teaching ASL.
So, okay, so little kids, like nursery school kids are learning ASL. Yeah, what more, I've learned from my kids, girl.
Mother, right?
Um, so I guess I thought that was continuing to kindergarten and first grade, but is that not correct?
I don't know.
Not now.
We did. Oh,
My
sorry,
kids
Amy, I
learned
didn't mean to
it
cut you
when they
off.
No, I
were
was
in
going to,
school.
it's,
They did songs with it and stuff.
but it's not like a foreign language like the
No.
state is looking to do.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. I used to teach deaf students, so that's why I know this stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, it would be a statewide requirement if the bill passes. So
Mm.
Our former trustee, Amy Vacris, her daughter did like a summer sign language workshop here, and some of the staff actually participated in that, but we're not proficient. I'll say that. So we wouldn't have been able to interpret the cooking class. None of us are that far along, but Mariana is actually probably the most proficient of the staff, and she was active in that workshop when we did it. And if Taylor ever wanted to offer it again, we'd definitely take her up. I'll say that too. So
you would have to have a certified interpreter. You just can't have somebody that knows sign language interpret for something like that too.
Mm.
So you just can't be like, oh, Amy signs
Yeah.
well, she can do this. There's a ADA requirement for it, just so everybody understands why we have to pay.
yeah, and having a staff member who like is just learning it or has been doing it for maybe a year that's not a certified person. So but if there's additional professional development opportunities where like a staff member wanted to pursue certification, we would, I will encourage that. I'll say that. So
Amy,
The Learning Center for the Deaf in Framingham offers classes. Naya's been taking them. They're like 6-week classes for 2 hours a week. If anybody, is that I'm talking about this interests anybody, just FYI.
Amy, does that price strike you as reasonable?
Yeah, it's a pretty standardized interpreting fees. You can go to the state and it tells you how much it's broken down on how many years the person's been interpreting, what level their certification is, and things like that. So, for something like this, it just depends. If you're doing something before the UN, it's different than if you're doing something before the select board, is how
Right.
things are, they determine who they send out and how much they're paid and things like that. But there is a pretty standard scale unless you're hiring privately. I know people I used to work with hired privately, so they got people who they knew well and knew would represent them appropriately. So
Interesting avenue to think about.
Mm.
I can go right to the questions on the director's report if that's okay. I really sort of have two in the miscellaneous field. One is, are you okay if I put up the suicide prevention lawn sign? I'd like to put it where the blood drive and the outdoor signs are now, just kind of in the middle underneath the brick sign. We did that last year. Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. And then on the diaper drive, I will say that picture where we got the rather large scale donation of all the diapers was the top Facebook post of the summer. And that's mainly because the Worcester area mission like reshared it. And so a lot of people saw it. And they've also been posting pictures of Raquel, if you follow them, like physically bringing the diapers in and like they she poses with all the diapers that she brings over. I've talked to Raquel about this. We're not going to be using the space in the front room until really the tax season next year. So I'd like to extend this through the holidays, if that's okay. This hasn't created, I know there was a lot of concerns about this creating added work, about it looking not great. But again, Raquel has been here pretty regularly. We've been having conversations. I think that this is something I'd like to continue if all of you agree.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's gone well.
Okay.
Amy, are you okay on that? I can't see you, so I don't know what your vote was.
Absolutely fine with it. Sorry.
Good. Okay, thanks. Any other?
Okay, that's it for the director's report from me.
All right, so shall we leap into the preservation restriction while we're all fresh-minded?
Budget,
Okay,
expense report?
The expense report, sure. So I think the tabulation error was corrected from last week. There's a member in the audience that's asking, has her hand up, named Jill Denrick. Jill, hi. There's a public comment section at the end of the meeting. So we can, if you can bear with us, we can talk to you during public comment. Okay,
and I think the John we have in the participants is John Parent.
okay.
Yeah.
So preservation restriction, oh, you want to
Sure.
talk about expense report. So the tabulation error that David had noticed last month, that's been corrected. So that was present, and then it is just the August figures, the end of the August figures.
Hmm.
So were there any questions?
I would just like to one more time say that to the extent that our budget permits that we increase the amount of money for professional development and then spread it wisely in your good judgment, Ryan. If I did the math right, Mike, we have 17 10,000ths of the budget going for professional development, and I'd like to see us do more.
Yeah. There are very limited funds for that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, there's always the library fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should not be able to go to a professional development because of money. I think
So
we're
far that hasn't come up.
good.
Good.
Okay. So now, sorry, Marguerite, I think preservation restriction.
Okay, are we ready for this? All right. What I would like to hear is each of you asking the questions you have on the document. And then since John is on, maybe he can answer some of those right now. So Janet, you're our former
Okay.
PR champ here.
Do you want me to do, or I talked about these with Ryan, or do you want to go over them, or should I, Ryan? I had a couple of,
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to relay those. If you'd like. Yeah, sure.
whichever, I can do it.
I think it'd be
Why
better.
don't we have a Janet voice do the Janet questions, and then Ryan,
Okay.
you can do your Ryan questions. How's that?
John just left.
Oh,
Let's not take that
okay. I guess
personally.
everything's okay then. All right, Janet, what do you got?
On the third paragraph of the first page,
Yeah.
the paragraph before introduces it and says, we're talking about referred to hereinafter as the historic facade described as follows. And then it says a one-story building. So I thought we should say the facade of a one-story Georgian classical revival building.
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat that, Mary?
Nope, I see it. It's good. When you said a building, I wasn't sure if I was looking at the right iteration of this because I do have Georgian classical revival there, but I understand what you're saying about facade.
Okay, and while we're at this, can I just jump in? We are
Yep.
putting a restriction on all 4 sides or 3 sides?
The facade.
Just the
Front
front,
side.
right?
Just the front? And the sides? No.
What do
just
you
the
mean
front.
side? Sides of the building? Sides of the facade? What do you mean?
What's the facade? Is it just the front?
The forward-facing part.
That's it.
I
Okay.
think so. That's what it,
All right, because I assumed somehow since they did work on both sides, that it included both sides.
So the side that they
Sides
did
of-
where they repaired the juts
Yeah.
was not utilized with CPA money. That was something, if you recall, we paid
Okay,
for
so
out of
it's
state
just
aid.
the one side. All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
but this document defines what everything is.
Mhm.
So it should be that you read through it and then
Yep.
it's clear from the document what they're referring to. So I think we often refer to the front part of the building as the historic facade versus the addition that was put on in the 80s. But
Yeah, but the
this
two
is
sides of the 1915 building are also historic.
But they're not included.
1912, yeah, the wings on the side of the
Mhm.
front, yeah. So part of the historic facade is the sides of the front of the building.
Good,
Okay,
good.
so are
Okay,
they
well then shouldn't
Okay,
it say
so it's
that?
not just forward
It's
facing.
not just forward facing.
right? It's three exterior walls,
Okay,
but according to this, it's 4 exterior walls
what's the
because
fourth?
one of the exterior walls is buried in the attachment to the addition.
It's still there?
Yeah.
I
You
don't
see
know.
the granite when you go in? They use the granite windows, and if you look in through toward the circulation desk, the way you're looking through is the old rear windows of the library. The sills and the bricks are still there.
I don't think, but we didn't just change that.
Correct.
It's just that they're remnants.
Right. So
I don't think we
when
want to
say
be, we
facade,
don't want to be restricted to keeping those always in the same place, right?
exactly. I think
Okay.
if we say facade, we have to say it's the west facing side, the south facing side, and the east facing side exterior.
Okay, then it can't be the facade. You have to change the wording. It's sides of the building. The facade and 2 sides.
Are you reading facade as just the front?
Yes, that's what it
Yeah.
means.
The facade is the exterior. That's what it refers to. It's the
So
same. They're
It's all 3
synonymous.
sides.
It
The
doesn't
facade
mean-
is all 3
It
sides.
doesn't mean sides, it's just the front.
Well, facade just
Uh,
means the outward
Exterior.
part. I
Facade
guess we're
means
talking about the
exterior.
1912 construction, outside.
So I think there's 2 different things happening here. I just looked up the definition of facade for my own edification. And it says,
Me too.
dictionary says the face of a building, especially the principal front that looks onto a street or open space.
Thank
I
you.
I think where we're also getting tripped up is that because this is an original building, there is often sometimes confusion about like the exterior cladding of that building, which could also be called an external facade, right? It's the outermost surface of the
But you
building.
just said front facing.
Correct. So that's why I'm saying I think it would be important for us to clarify that.
I do
that
too.
Yes, so if we need to clarify for all of these reasons what we are calling the facade. And
Okay, so
in this instance,
So in the whereas, if you guys refer back to the document, in the whereas section, which
what
is on
page are
the,
we on?
The first
I'm
page.
reading on page 1.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the section that says this preservation restriction, second paragraph down, it says whereas. Towards the bottom of that paragraph, it's giving you a definition.
What is that definition?
I can read it to you if you like.
Yes,
So, quote, the restriction shall apply to the exterior facade only to the original extant 1912 building and excluding later additions, parenthetical, referred to as the, quote, Southborough Public Library, referred to hereinafter as, quote, the historic facade. So then subsequent mentions of the historic facade as a what is it, proper noun throughout the document are referring to that previous definition.
Okay,
Does
so
this make sense to everybody? Okay.
No, say somebody is reading this in 30 years and we are all out of the picture. Usually,
I'm not.
facade of a building is anything that faces, it could be the front, but if we're working on one side toward the parking lot and the other side toward the gardens, is someone going to think, well, that's a facade, that's a face? The building
Well,
has literally
it's-
four
it's-
This,
faces.
in our-
this seems to include those
In
parts to me.
Exactly,
architectural
that's what I
terms, the
thought.
facade is only the front. You can add wording to say also the sides and the back, but
I
it,
would prefer if we just left it the front. I would say where it brings in historic facade, and then I would do parentheses, front facing only.
I
Right.
would vote in favor of including the sides, the original sides, the sides of the original as well.
Well, what
But they may not
about
be
in
getting the
addition if we end up having to do something to those wings kind of, and it
Yep.
impacts those side
So
walls?
the idea
do we-
behind, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but so Janet, to your point, then we would not be able to
Right.
do any additional construction on those side wings. We kind of knew that when we applied to get the CPA money, that was going to limit the ability to do that. So that is correct. The bizarre part of our building is, if you guys all of you have been in the library before, when you're upstairs, you're in the front where the circulation area is, you are mostly in the historic building. When you're in my office, when you're in the front room, you're in historic building. When you go into the staff room, the processing area, that part was built on after. That is not historic. So the staff room, which actually is the outside of the building, like it has 2 windows in that room, is not part of the historic facade.
Okay, so can we ask the attorney Liz to stipulate that what we're meaning by facade is the front south-facing side of the building only?
So I spoke to John about this. What he would like is if we have any changes that we want to go back to legal, he wants those written up.
All right.
So
I will
what
do
I
it
would
because I have a couple more things that have to go back to legal.
So what I would suggest is that we designate someone to do the wording on this. And I mean, it sounds like Margarita's volunteering, but I would have you guys all agree to have a representative be the primary person to submit these changes. And I'm happy to work with that person.
Okay,
Well,
Janet,
and I
you wanna
can,
do it
and
too?
Marguerite, I can send you an email with the suggestions I'm
Okay, and
suggesting.
then we'll run it by the whole board before we, but I think, just even parenthetically, specifically what we mean by facade, because I assumed it was the old part of the building, exterior walls, all of it.
okay, but it's not. So
Well,
it's,
no,
we know
Jane,
it's
when
not.
you read this, it is.
well then,
Yeah, then we want to change it.
from what
Because the
Ryan,
townhouse is doing the facade and it's the whole building.
well, it's an incorrect use of the word facade. If anybody reads this in 40, 50 years, a facade is the front of the building. And if you want to include the sides, great, but you have to say the sides.
Okay, so I don't
So-
want to include the sides. I just
Okay,
want,
Let's
I think
clarify it.
I think it doesn't make sense, my opinion, if I could talk for a second, it doesn't make sense to include the sides for all the reasons that Ryan just stated, even though they were worked on during the facade restoration. I think in perpetuity, you want to preserve the front of the building. And I think
exactly.
you should
But when I
add,
read it and when Janet
excuse
read
me,
it,
let me finish. I think you should
Jane.
add south-facing facade. And in 100 years, the word facade will mean the same thing it means today. And forget about the sides. I'll be quiet now.
all right, that'll be helpful. What do we want to do with it then? Janet and I will make a list of things and then bring it back. Run it by John Parent.
Well, we should write up
Yep.
specifically what we want.
That's what John has requested.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I still think, Janet, we should go over the suggestions that you had that we talked about this morning so
Yeah.
that the rest of the board is aware. And then everybody, here's the thing, everybody should have a chance to say what they think. There may be some disagreements on definitions and what you guys want in the restriction. So if that is the case, you guys need to come to a majority decision.
Right. And we need to
That's what I
clarify
would
it.
recommend, so that
Yeah.
so that as many first of all, it's stated on the record, so we can put that in the minutes. And then we also make sure that all the voices are heard, but the document is representative of what the most people agree on. Does that
Oh,
make sense? Is that a
yes.
good path forward?
Agreed. And
Okay.
do we have forward that for facade, per Jane's reminder, we are talking about the south side facing front of the building only, that this restriction applies to? Everybody
Yes.
in agreement?
I'll change my comment to agree with that, yes.
Okay, you sure? You're all
Yeah.
right? Okay, yeah, because I assumed it was the three because they're all historic.
And I've been going under the impression that it was just front facing, but
Mhm.
Well,
Well,
I
think
from what
it's
Ryan
good to
said,
clarify if there's
we don't want to
misunderstanding.
from what Ryan said, we don't want to restrict ourselves if
Right.
in fact we ever enlarge the building to keeping those two walls on the sides. It would be, you'd have to work around it, and
Of course, it
we
would be
don't really
bad.
want to do it. As nice as they are and as much money's been spent on them, if ever we, renovate the building, we don't want to have to make sure that those three other walls actually
Yeah.
remain intact. It would really limit the possibilities.
And I'm sure there will be feedback both from our attorney and from Preservation Worcester. But the other thing I can offer, Jane and all of you, is that if we do go to renovate in the future, we will be having a conversation with Preservation Worcester about what our plans are and about making sure they will give input to us on trying to preserve the historic section as much as possible in that conversation. But Janet will tell you, the two of us had many conversations with Preservation Worcester back and forth. They were very amenable to working with us. They understand what our plans are. And I think that has been part of every conversation, is that the library wants to expand its footprint at some point, but we want to keep, the historic front as much as possible.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, we
now,
have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
can I ask another question while we're there on paragraph 2? The next to the last line in the whereas the grantor is the owner in fee simple, the next to the last line in that is, the restriction shall apply to the exterior facade only of the original extant 1912 building and excluding later additions, referred to as the Southborough Public Library, and then the strike through, and grounds adjacent thereto, referred to hereinafter as the historic facade, described as follows. In that definition of facade, they have also included in the original draft all the landscaping.
yeah, but
Well,
that was removed.
right.
Right, it's been
Remember,
struck
the
through.
original draft didn't say facade. It kept talking about the building.
Mm-hmm,
So then I added a paragraph that said, whenever you refer to the word building, we
Mhm.
mean facade.
mm-hmm,
And they just incorporated that into each paragraph. So that's where that comes from. It's the
right.
original thing that was just saying the whole thing is going to
But
be preserved.
here's the issue of the grounds. And so in my understanding, in this strike through, none of this restriction will apply to anything that's done on the grounds.
Right.
Would that include the stairs?
The stairs are part of the historic footprint. So those would be restricted, Jane.
The
Okay.
only restriction that shows up about the grounds in later parts of the document are saying that you can't, they prevent us from doing anything that blocks or changes the view of the historic facade. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, Jane kind of brings up a good point about the stairs because that's sort of in front of the building. But the idea is that we were trying to, what would be included in the restriction is anything that the CPA funds paid for. Does
Right,
that make sense? With the notable exception of the roof,
but the
because
CPA's paid for the stairs. Okay, so the roof is
Yeah.
gonna be my other question, but if you look on page 21, which is Exhibit F, Restriction Guidelines, and it gives pairs of types of changes, one minor, one major, right? For
Yeah.
paint, minor and major. For windows and doors, minor, okay, major, you got a exterior, minor, spot repair, okay. And then landscape outbuildings, minor, routine maintenance of the outbuildings, major, moving or subdividing buildings or property, altering property, Altering or removing significant landscape features such as gardens, vistas, walks, plantings, walls, fences, ground disturbance affecting archaeological resources. In other words, they're saying here, you have to get permission to move or alter a garden or a fence.
That should be eliminated.
All right, so strike that. Because landscape doesn't apply. All right, that was my number 2 thing
Okay.
on the landscape.
I'm just letting you guys know that we may be talking about this next month, and the Preservation Worcester may say, thank you for your feedback on eliminating these features. We don't want to eliminate them.
In other words, they
So,
won't
They-
offer the restriction without
But they,
eliminating.
yeah,
They can
they haven't
overrule.
had
the
that kind of
trustees?
attitude in the discussions we had initially anyway.
But here's the other part. If we do sign up for this and we accept it the way it is, we cannot change any landscaping without their permission.
Well,
so you,
Go ahead.
no, I don't want to, I don't want to cut you off, Jane, at all.
Oh, it's all right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, nothing is not able to have a conversation with Preservation Worcester about. My understanding is that they're not going to be like here looking at all of the landscaping features. Also, I don't think we want to do any significant landscaping changes, right? I think our footprint is mostly what it's going to be right now. If we were going to do something massive, what we then have to do is include Preservation Worcester as part of that conversation.
Where's the
And then
parking lot fall in this?
Oh, wait,
Not-
wait.
it's
Let's
not-
look at this for a minute. I don't think you should have this in here. Gardens? I mean,
I agree.
Yeah,
it's too restrictive.
because then you're starting to get into like, how about the sidewalk we want to pull
Yes,
up?
what about the walkway? What about the blue, no.
What about the parking lot? What about the dying cherry trees?
Yeah, no, we're
Yeah,
not.
no.
I have to address David's comment from before, and then Mary, I see you with your hand raised. I don't know if this might help you answer your question. David just asked if this process can overrule the trustees. I'm going to tell you what my understanding is. When we get the CPA money, part of that warrant article was that we need to pass a preservation restriction, right? So we're now at that stage years later that we're looking at the document, we're ready to do that. That we do need to make sure that our attorney and the restriction holder's attorney, which is Preservation Worcester, are agreed on the language. You guys have to approve the restriction as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're the grantee.
Yeah.
On the first
So-
page, it's the Library Board of Trustees.
So the only thing, David, there may be, and again, I mean, maybe this is more of a conversation with the
I think we're the grantor.
town council is I don't if you guys object, like it seems like there's a lot of this document at this point that we don't like. So I don't know how that's going to go. I think we talked to John. John has been taking the lead with this, and I know has gotten feedback from me and from some of the trustees on inclusion on the document. But again, as long as you write up what the issues are, we can have that conversation with legal.
So
and
I
see
was on
where
the
we're at.
phone this morning with John, with this, right? And the facade thing didn't come up because I was assuming it was the 3 sides of the library, but that's sorted out. The part about the gardens did come up, and that I think I wouldn't mind having all the garden stuff was struck in paragraph 2 on page 1, where it says and grounds adjacent thereto. It's out. And I think that it should be struck in Appendix E, where it's talking about landscape build and outbuildings, where it says if you want to alter or remove significant landscape features, you need to get a waiver from. I think that should be struck.
Where?
Unless somebody
I see Exhibit F. Okay, E.
That it should what?
You're saying Exhibit E. I'm just trying to find it.
Oh, on page 21 where it says landscape outbuildings.
Okay.
I didn't review the attachments.
Oh,
to
I
be
see it.
honest.
It's on the
I
same
love those.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you said E.
Oh, no.
This is
No.
F. Um,
Anyway, I
So
think,
we
yeah,
want to take that out.
yes.
I don't want to confuse the issue here, full stop. I do want to offer something that might reinforce what we are saying here about the landscape, which is I understand the facade that we're talking about. The definition of facade is the front of the building. Got it. We also then said, what about the stairs? And the word footprint was used because it's part of the front footprint. I also think the stairs are part of that historic front facade. So I agree with that. Here's my question about the landscape that we're discussing that is in front of those stairs. And I just want to bring this up about the stairs because there are times in the year where those beautiful stairs are slippery. There's a sign out there. We encourage people to use a different entrance. Way in the future, if we do some sort of renovation, part of our dreams for the renovation that is not happening now would have been an alternate entrance, perhaps coming from the parking lot. And so, again, in the spirit of not restricting ourselves, there could be a future here where the stairs are redone or different, where the beauty of the facade is kept, but we are completely redirecting traffic patterns, and those stairs might need to get updated, modernized, or somehow redone in the spirit of an entrance, but maybe not as a main entrance. Go ahead, Ryan. So I just want to leave ourselves open to that.
Accessibility, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I? So during the CPA project, all of what you just said, Mary, was an active part of those conversations before we started. We
Great.
had an we had an OPM, we had an architect when we were looking at the thing. When you're doing a historical restoration project, one of the most frustrating aspects of that is that you can't update for accessibility. So that's
Yeah.
part A. But beyond that, part B was we looked at what it would look like in order to update for accessibility. We are very limited with how the front of the building was sort of created. So part of having the alternate entrance in the revised building program was as a direct result of some of the
Yeah.
CPA conversations.
Yeah.
So you'll notice that a lot of the libraries, including Marlborough, actually is a great example.
Yes.
They had to keep their historic entrance, and a lot of the inside of their building is the same.
Yep.
But they had to, they couldn't get rid of that. I think they don't use it as the entrance anymore. That's what most
Right.
libraries do. They just
Right.
don't let you come in and out of those doors anyway, and it just
Right.
becomes like a physical feature of the building.
Which is why, just to piggyback on this, which is why, again, taking out the language about that front landscape walkway planting area being a major renovation or needing more permissions, taking that out gives us more flexibility because it doesn't, when you have those pathways there, it assumes you are walking up to something. If we change that in the future, we want to make sure we can sort of provide those wonderful landscape cues that to direct people elsewhere.
Okay.
One of the sections that Janet, because this is sort of related,
Yeah.
I think, Janet, was one
Oh.
of the sections that Janet had pointed out was on
Page 9, 29.
29, which is the section about archaeological activities.
It's trying to limit the amount of archaeological work you could do without notifying them first and all this. I thought we'd just strike that paragraph.
Yeah, so John did say specifically, Janet, he thinks there'll be pushback from Preservation Worcester on that.
Well, what if we take it out and wait and see?
Right.
I think that's a good strategy, Jen. Yeah. If everyone
I'm curious,
agrees. Yeah.
do you think it's related to our proximity to the historic gravesite?
Maybe, but
Oh yeah, we could still take it out. I'm just wondering if this
I
was.
mean, I don't think we have any plans. We don't think, they checked for Native American burial sites, all that, but who knows what 50 years from now they consider historical. So,
right. But I think well, I already said, take it out and see if they come back with the
Yeah.
argument of leaving it in.
Okay.
Ryan.
And then
Okay.
it's fine with me.
No,
Janet,
it's
do we
fine.
want to go over the page 3 change?
Yeah, I had one other small thing. On page 3, under section 3, it talks about, if we wanted to do some things, we can expand using such community preservation funds to rehabilitate. And I'm concerned, what if we don't have community preservation funds in the future? I mean, the thing comes up periodically that we should eliminate that whole program. So I suggested we just change it to town funds.
I think that is a good idea, then we're not limited.
Yeah, I agree with Jane
Yeah,
with that.
that's all I had.
Did we lose you, Marguerite?
Oh,
She's,
she's on
Okay.
the phone.
she's off the,
Okay. We'll wait a minute.
I don't know if we should put a pin in this and then go to something else on the agenda. If you guys are okay with that.
And if I could just ask one clarifying question in that, I think, Ryan, you said this, but it was also my assumption before you did that several years ago, when there were repairs made to the facade and the town voted on those and we opted to use grant funds. So this document is originates back in those conversations years ago. And this is now just the codification of the relationship with Preservation Worcester.
Yeah, so there was sort of written into the warrant article, it said that
Yeah.
a preservation restriction had to be placed.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of like definition about that or time frame
Who would do it?
established.
Right.
So Janet and I did start kind of, it was helpful because I think I was kind of working on this on my own for a year and not a lot got done because I was a little out of my element. Janet offered to help me and then was very helpful in meeting with some potential people. We found Preservation Worcester, I believe, through our old architect. I think she was the one who had recommended them. And so we had a conversation with the woman who ran that group. And then years later, the townhouse also is using CPA funds as a restoration. So then I believe we let them know that we had found a group that was willing to do this. And now the restrictions are kind of being bundled. I believe the townhouse was given a time frame on getting this done. So that is, this will be kind of timely. It may, I told John, we may have to have you guys do extra meetings about this. But he didn't know if that was going to be necessary. But I also do not think he knew that there was going to be substantial changes to the dock. So
Let me just add one piece of muddy water here, and that is, if in case nobody has looked underneath the stairs, there it looks like a mini prison. There are bars and an open area underneath it, which has always been sort of creepy to me, anyway. And so it's an open area. Is that a problem that will need addressing down the road? And if so, what about the facade? Sorry to have to bring this up, but it's a potential issue.
no, we used to have more problems with that all the time. Actually, David, before the CPA project, there used to be like actual bars that were rusted so badly that they wouldn't close. So that was something we did talk to the architect and our OPM about during the project. And then, to be honest, we haven't had any issues since we did the project with that under area or with things not working or being able to close. We did talk about whether or not we could fill that in, and I think that was ruled out. But
they wanted to be able to get to the stairs from underneath if they needed to.
I think that it was access issue was part of the problem. But I know we had like a wasp's nest that was stuck in there at one point, and that was a big issue with DPW. So that's many, many years ago. But all
Okay.
right. Are you, Jane? I think it falls to you. Are you okay if we move on to a different
fine.
agenda item and we can revisit this? Okay.
Sure. Yes.
All right. Um, I feel like I should give you guys something easy. Um, do you want to do the remaining holiday closure item? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Isn't
Yep.
the active shooter stabbing
No,
training
that's
easy?
that's easy. I guess we can do
Okay.
that because that's more of a scheduling question. So I have talked to the police department, um, who have been great. They were suggesting a potential date of September 29th or October 6th to do this. They can offer the training starting at 3 p.m. The training would be about 2 hours. So my suggestion would be to look for the October 6th date because that gives me more time to advertise that the library will close early. I'm thinking the library could be open that day from 10 to 2, if that's okay with you. We would break an hour for lunch. I am happy to pick up lunch for everybody, and then we'd commence the training starting at 3. But the library would be closed to the public from 2 to 5 that day.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And then I'd still like to go forward with inviting all of you to attend if you're available, and then also to invite the friends. I do know one full-time staff member will be away that day, but it is somebody who's previously taken the training. And I'm going to go over any details with them after. I'm going to have to do that with some of the part-time staff that can attend.
You
Just
Yeah.
a quick question about the
Mm.
schedule. You proposed these times, so I'm sure this question is redundant, but it does seem like you're closing in the afternoon when usage might be a little bit more up, or is that not the case for a Monday afternoon, like after
So
school and stuff?
yeah, I
I don't know
never.
why I was surprised to hear that. For some reason, I assumed it was going to be a morning.
Yeah, so Kim is starting story times again. So to do it in the
Yep,
morning, we'd have to cancel the story time pretty much when we just get in a rhythm of doing it.
makes
Um,
sense.
we're also going to be doing a Monday afternoon program called Reading Buddies, but that hasn't started yet at the point on the 6th. So there is sort of a programming
Lull.
yes, on that
Yeah,
particular afternoon. The reason why it was targeted on Monday is because that's the only day that the full-time staff tend to overlap the entire
perfect.
day because
Yeah,
we have people either coming in the morning and the afternoon. It also was dependent a little bit on the police department schedule. So like all of those things were factors.
yeah,
I do recognize this is right when parents would pick up kids. So that already cuts out a number of staff members who need to do that. And in particular, friends members who I know have school age children. Also, any of our evening part-time staff that are restricted to just evening hours because they have full-time jobs will not be able to attend either. But there's no way to do this where I could
right.
get 100%. And
This
then
gets you a critical mass.
yeah, and so what I'd like to also do is, because I know not all of you may be able to attend on that particular day or time, but then try to find maybe an alternate time in the spring where we target as many people who didn't attend as possible and kind of do it for them, if
How
that makes sense.
long is the training, Ryan?
Did you
About
say
2 hours.
start
2
at
hours,
3
okay.
o'clock? So would be
Yeah.
3 to
Yeah.
5?
Yeah. But you'd be welcome to join us at the 2 o'clock for the lunch if you want.
That's also the day that you're not open in the evenings, so.
Correct. So that was Monday was targeted very specifically for that reason, Mary, because if we
Yeah.
shut down, the idea is like, do we shut down and then reopen? Like, what
Yep.
does that look like? How does that
No, it makes
disrupt?
perfect
So,
sense.
yeah.
I'm just
When
glad
we
to
did,
know that. Yeah.
yeah, I
Sorry.
think when we
Go
did
ahead.
this last time, it was more in the morning, actually. This is the first time it's in the afternoon, and that was more based on the police department schedule, to be honest. So, But Kim likes that she doesn't have to cancel story time. That was,
Yeah, yeah.
I think she did the last time we did this several years ago. She had to not do it that day.
When will you know which of those two dates it will be?
As soon as I confirm with you, I wanted to
Oh,
make sure that it was okay with all of you that we close the building at 2 at that day. And I'm looking for your blessing before we proceed.
Works for me.
That's
You
what I told
always
the
have our
police department.
blessing, Ryan.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, so go ahead and proceed with October 6th. Is that
Yes.
okay? All
Yes.
right.
Put it on the calendar.
Okay. Do you want to go back to the preservation restriction, Marguerite?
Yes, sorry, I was on the phone with fill in the blank. So, and I would really like to hear other points on this. The facade definition, the landscaping, not the landscaping and grounds not being subject to restriction.
Yeah, so
Do
there
we
were
all
two
agree on
things that we
that?
talked about really quickly while you were on the phone.
Yeah.
On page 3, number 3, there was an area about using community preservation funds. Janet suggested and Jane agreed that we look at like you instead of using CPA money or spelling out community preservation funds, we just put town funds in the event that in the future CPA funds are not available or the town isn't doing CPA.
Or that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
If we
Oh,
eliminate
okay. So
Um,
which number is that? 3, 4, 5, or 6?
it's page 3, number 3.
Okay.
halfway
3.
down, the grantor shall expend such community preservation funds to rehabilitate, and instead of that, say, such town funds.
Wait a second. We're on page 3.
It's up near the top. Restriction as to.
Yeah, I think Janet's going to send you these, Marguerite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to volunteer you, Janet.
Oh,
No,
yes, I see it. So take
Okay.
out community preservation and put in town. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. All right.
And
Any
then
others?
on page 9, number, was it 29?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right? There was a whole section on archaeological digs.
Mhm.
Just
Um,
eliminate it.
Yeah, 9, number 29. And John was concerned that there might be pushback from Preservation Worcester on that point specifically.
One clarification that I discussed earlier this morning with Marguerite is that the holder of the preservation restriction that relates only to the 1909 deed, which facilitated the 1912 building. It does not include the adjacent parcel, which was a transaction where St. Mark's gave to us, to the trustees in 1978. So when we're talking about vegetation and landscaping conditions, it does not include, if that's what we still agreed upon, Marguerite, it does not include the St. Mark's parcel of 1978. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether this restriction is including both the 1978 and the 1909 parcels as one parcel. That needs to be clarified.
The 78 acquisition doesn't have anything to do with the facade of the building.
Right.
No.
And it was
Just talking about 1912.
it's the parking lot, the septic system, and up there, right? So I think it needs to be clarified because what it says the property.
I don't think we want a preservation restriction on the septic system.
No, although, yes, no. And
No.
okay, so let me just look and see. Just make sure that what they're calling they are simply restricting the building, it seems to me, which is located on this property.
Yeah,
it's
that's
certain
what
real
The
property.
facade of the
The
building.
facade of the building, the one
I,
wall.
so
Right.
if you again, if you go back to that definition paragraph,
Yep.
it does define what's going to be restricted.
Which one are we talking about?
That's on page 1,
Hmm.
right? It's the second paragraph, the whereas.
Whereas
It's
the
that
grantor is the owner of fee simple of certain real property, depending about section. Well, that's going to have to be okay. So David is right, because which of the properties are we going to cite? The earlier deed, which includes the old building, or the entire deed, which includes the new parking lot, etc.
I
Just the
did
old
let John
deed.
know before we got started on this document that it
Mhm.
shouldn't include any information about the grounds. I think what's happened is that there
Okay.
is what Preservation Worcester came back with is
Yeah.
that if you modify grounds that are related to the facade, is
Mhm.
that can drastically change how the building looks or is perceived from a
Right.
historical aesthetic
Right.
perspective, right?
Right.
Which does make sense to me. But that is why the restriction includes some of the areas on the grounds. I don't believe they're talking about anything behind the building, this
Or
where the
like the
septic is located
gardens or
or the
the
parking lot. Yeah.
urns or things like that, or the benches out front, or the frog out front, or if we want to put new trees out front, that's all going to be modifications to the grounds, right?
But again, that can be something that we talk to Preservation Worcester about if we want to proceed with that. The townhouse is going to have to be doing the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, and then any other questions about this? So this is like, I've got 5, and the other thing is, when I left you, we were talking about the front stairs, because Jane asked if the stairs are considered part of the facade, and I am guessing, but I am not knowing, that yes, they sort of are, because they were torn down and rebuilt
Mhm.
during that work.
With CPA funds.
Yep, with the CPA funds.
Well,
But
they were
I'm
sinking, if you recall,
no,
many
they
of you
needed it.
do, they
Yeah,
were sinking into the ground. So
And
right.
they
then
found problems underneath the
yeah,
top things. I
Yeah,
can't remember. They
yeah,
had to
yeah.
replace a lot of that support
Exactly.
work.
They were a mess. So are we, if we restrict them at this point, is it going to be that they can never be made handicap accessible with a ramp?
we knew that going into the CPA project. So it's good to bring this up now so that everyone is on the same page again.
All right.
Those stairs cannot be made handicap accessible. John looked at that a lot. I looked
Mhm,
at it with John. We spoke with the ADA committee years ago about this.
mhm.
There isn't a short of not having stairs there and just redoing it with some sort of incline, which
Mhm.
I still don't think we can do. I think with an incline, it has to be a certain
Yeah.
number of feet and it would cut into the intersection of the street. So there's like literally no way, even if we didn't have stairs, to make that. It's too high up on that
Right.
hill
Right.
in order to make it ADA accessible. What we had talked years ago about doing was a pathway along the sides. We ruled that out when we talked to the OPM and the architect because visually it would make the front look very different, but
Yep.
also it would be at an incline, which it turns out is not ADA accessible. So I'm glad that Mary brought this up, but like this was an exhaustive so many conversations about this because we wanted to do our best to make it ADA compliant so that it limited our liability. That was really why the ADA switch was added to the downstairs door. There's not one in the front, if you're because it doesn't make sense. And then that was really why the building program highlighted a sort of a new back entrance that would be just as big or more utilized as the front. Only about
Which
20% of all entrances and exits, I think it's even less now, come in through that front door. And some of that is us when we go outside to do things. So
I know, but the ADA is supposed to be a form of welcoming. Well, okay. So given the present
we
state of
just can't do
technology,
it in a historic building. That's the truth. And there's many buildings in Massachusetts that are in the same boat as we are.
I think Westboro took their entrance and did something with it, but it clearly deeply altered the look of the stairs. They made kind of like a ziggurat. It was good. But all right, so we're giving up on the stairs, so we won't do anything with that. And other thoughts? I asked John
If
about
anybody,
EV
if anybody
chargers.
has,
You asked for a
sorry.
waiver to put those in. And the archaeological digs, we don't want that in there, but we could leave it in there if it would make them happy. There was an
No,
archaeological
no,
dig. There was an
no.
archaeological dig on the historic park, as we know.
We don't
Was-
want to leave that in. We want to take it out.
Yeah.
Good, okay. And my other question was, where does this restriction go if Preservation Worcester becomes defunct?
We will have fulfilled our obligation for the CPA funds and,
We
whatever.
don't care.
I would imagine another organization would take up their properties, but who knows?
Right. Then
We will have
part
done our
number
job.
47, page 11, it's the old select board, not the new one. And at a certain point on one page, tracts of land was spelled tracts as in railroad. And I think that's all I've got. As I read this, I felt I don't really care for restrictions at all, but this seemed like a pretty bearable one. I mean, I don't, because I immediately think, well, could we put the children's walk in there? Could we move the garden that's only been there for like 20 years down the hill if we wanted? Could somebody plant a tree? And those would all be things that we'd want the freedom to do, so.
Right.
We'll still have the freedom to do things. I feel like I'm a little broken record here. We'll still have the freedom to do things. We just have to have a conversation. So what will happen in the future that doesn't happen now is that we have to talk with a representative from Preservation Worcester about what our plans are and about whether or not that impacts the historic aesthetic of the front of the building. And then even then, if we explain why we want to do it, Preservation Worcester may not have any feedback. They may, and then we would make that part of the conversation and part of the project.
Okay, so
Can I ask you a question? I mean, you mentioned page 11. I don't see tracks there, but it's dumb, but how do you spell Malinowski?
it's not, yeah, it's spelled like melanoma, Melino, I think.
I'm just wondering, I thought it was an A, but I don't know. I'm just wondering if that,
It's an A.
But isn't there an I where the A is?
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Could be
I'll look
I
it up.
think it's Malinowski.
incorrectly.
I know. I think it's Malinowski.
All right.
I'm
so
looking it
maybe
up.
Yeah, I just, thank you for looking it up.
And we still want to be able to take up that little diagonal walk that's crumbling apart.
That has nothing to do with the facade.
Ah, but it is on the grounds.
No, stop. It's
No,
not,
it is. It's right on the ground. So we have to make sure that the grounds are not part of the restriction.
correct. Yes, I agree.
Well,
I agree with Ryan too, in that I think that everything that we will intend to do to the front of this library will be done with the best of intentions. And I think this organization is set up to do exactly what its name implies, which is like first do no harm to the facade and the history of the building. I really don't think, my hope would be that they're not gonna prevent us from doing the necessary and lovely aesthetic and landscape related updates that actually preserve the viability of the grounds and the building.
Yeah. All right. So why don't anybody who has written notes about things that they want to change, why don't we leave it this way? Send them to me. I will meet with Marguerite and we will work on writing those up to send to John. so that he can review them with legal. Is that okay with you, Marguerite?
Yes, that's fine. What about Janet, since she was very involved in this in the first place?
Janet, if it's okay with you, we're happy to also talk to you, but Janet has three very specific things we went
Yep.
over in this meeting. I
Okay.
think everybody is okay with putting those in, moving forward. I know that this discussion, there
write
was
it
a
out.
lot of other things that came up, so that Janet can include those in anything she sends over. But
Okay.
I think a lot of what substantively you guys talked about, we're going to reflect in the revised document. John did say that these are typically a lot more robust with the wording,
Mhm.
and that was really reduced to try to get it to a level that everybody would be comfortable with.
Because we have no
But
interior
yeah,
restrictions.
so I'm happy we're happy to engage with them. It just may be that they come back and they say they want to keep these pieces, and maybe we ask them to explain why,
Or
you know?
ask them, the gardens and the grounds are often in a state of change. Something will die and needs to get replaced. I mean, that's just what happens, and it says it's okay. But I think it's I don't know, I like the idea of us being in charge of our own landscaping more. I
Well,
have,
the intention of this group is to try to also protect the library,
yep,
which I think is the intention of this group too. So I think that there's synergy here with the goals. And I don't think we should anticipate a lot of problems. Again, Jen and I spoke pretty extensively with the women who ran the organization, and we let them know what our long-term plans were for
Mhm.
adding on to the building. And they were very understanding, and they said that there are other
Yeah.
buildings that are in the same type of situation we are, so
Well,
they don't have
also,
a lot of examples, but
right at the point we were talking to them, which now was a few years ago, we would be their first municipal building.
Ooh,
So I think we're all testing this out. But other than up until now, it had been like private homes, historic homes and things. And
mhm.
that's a whole different ballgame. So I would think that they'd be, want to listen to us because they'd be learning what restrictions there are and concerns there are in municipal buildings.
Okay, now I have their website up. They're now in the old Salisbury mansion that you may know, that big wooden house that's old, and I'm gonna email this website to everybody.
if you guys do not want a restriction that's more complicated, I talked to legal about that. We have to go before town meeting, and you need a majority of the town to vote that we don't have one.
I think from the sounds of what everyone's been saying and the work that's been done on this, we want a restriction.
Yep,
We want some protection
Want it to
for the
protect,
facade
yeah.
after
yeah,
all this has been done. It's just
yeah.
trying to take care of the details, that's all.
Yeah.
Do we know whether this still will only cost $15,000 next year's?
Well, John has bundled the amount with the
Right.
townhouse. So
Mhm.
he did tell me the amount, Janet, and I'm not entirely positive. I'd have to ask, but I
Okay.
don't know if it was really separated out that the
Yeah.
library has this specific piece and the townhouse doesn't. I think that they were part of a combined
And do
amount.
we still have money under that grant from
That's a question for Carla. I
okay.
don't know. I would assume that it's been kind of closed out, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that there was also a CPA project for the townhouse, so I don't exactly know how the funds are being spent
Mm,
at this point. It's a question for accounting.
okay. Just curious.
Okay, so are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Um, briefly with the library parking lot, and Jane and Janet can talk about this too. We did meet with Jason last Friday. We had a pretty productive conversation. Um, I think everybody feels comfortable if we move forward with this at some point on looking at requesting from the CIPC, the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, engineering funds to look at doing a parking lot kind of redo, right? or a parking lot, just ripping it up and repaving it the way that we've kind of talked about. I think there's a lot of people are saying that because we're not having current drainage issues, to not modify any of the drainage. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of that. But we can also engage with an engineer at that point. Jason said, even though it's right at the application period for CIPC, that we could put in engineering money now. But then he also said that we would have to try to get some quotes. Jane and I have been very focused on trying to reach out to the people that Bill um, asked us to reach out to about the concrete path, and literally none of them have gotten back to me. I haven't heard back from actually any of those people
Huh.
about that
Asphalt
sub-project.
engineering never got back to you?
Asphalt
That one
did.
did. That one did.
Yeah, the people Bill recommended did not.
But I mean
So
about the path. Did
about
You
they?
the
mean
path.
the asphalt path, the tar path?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
did get back to you? Did they give us a price?
Mhm.
no, they did not.
Thought it
But-
was 2,500.
No, they did. You have in your
Asphalt
notes,
did,
there was
sorry.
asphalt did, but nobody
Yeah.
else that was contacted about the path or the parking lot did.
Yeah,
how
so
much-
maybe they just do the
much-
parking lot, maybe because Asphalt mentioned that this project was very small and that we might not get a lot of people who are kind of interested in that. But as far as getting quotes, I wasn't able to establish a dialogue with any of those other companies based on requesting the pathway work. So I don't want to try to do this last minute. Where I'm at in this process right now is that the parking lot is not at its end of its life. I feel like I freaked everybody out about the parking lot, and I created a lot of anxiety and stress about this, not just for you guys, but for myself. And what I think we should do is I can continue this as a background project. Then next fall, we will be more informed and we can request the engineering funds to potentially redo this then.
Well, yeah.
No, have a discussion.
Right,
Well, in the discussion with Jason, a couple things came up that I thought were interesting. One is he said if once the engineering thing is done, whatever, it could potentially get rolled into a bigger repaving project for the town, which would reduce everybody's costs, which was interesting. So that's why I like bringing him in on things. He knows all these little pieces that are going on.
Yeah, like use
well, he
Lazaro
also
instead
said,
of
he
asphalt.
also said if you ask for an engineering study, it's much more likely to be approved because it's smaller bites of the apple.
Right,
So-
take bites out of a big project.
Yeah, so, oh, okay, well, it's, repaving is down the road, but we'd like to get some information, and I thought that was a very useful comment too.
Well, the other thing we just barely touched on this, and I've been thinking about it since, is, we've been talking about if we ever get to do an addition, that we might want to do something with the septic system and move whatever parts of it you can. He was saying, I don't know that you could do anything with the leaching field, but you could do things with the holding tank and whatever.
Mhm.
So we might want to look at just to see how much it would cost, move some of that stuff under the new parking lot now, rather than do the parking lot and in 5 years rip up part of it to move part of the septic under.
So that's just a little more, knowledge collecting.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could ask them to quote two ways, like how much would it cost us to move some of that kind of stuff now?
Mhm.
Whatever we could, so that, just taking a longer view. Since we do have some years, the parking lot's not completely falling apart right now. Let's,
So I think that's a good idea.
yeah,
Get all our ducks in a row and then, because it isn't falling apart, and I guess they're gonna patch the holes.
yeah, they can still patch holes.
They can
Yeah,
still-
because I probably said this before, but the septic for the senior center is under their parking lot. The
Right,
septic for the public safety is under their parking lot.
But not the leaching field,
but not
right?
the leaching.
Yeah, the leaching field is under.
Okay, well, then we can ask about that
That's the
too.
whole thing. And
Wouldn't it be
because
nice to get rid of that whole thing?
wouldn't it be? Anyway, and also, I think in the DPW, those two pieces of pavement, there's a switch valve between the two of them. Those are under there, the leaching fields for the DPW.
Yeah. It'd be
And you
nice to
can
at least
hide
find
it.
out whether the leaching field could be moved. I mean, maybe with our other water problems that they wouldn't
Couldn't,
want to
yeah.
touch that and it would just mess everything else up. Be nice to know that too. that we have a restriction on what we could do over there.
Yeah, or take what we've got now for the giant bump, which didn't always used to be there. It used to be flat. Put leaching field there, but make it lower and then put
That
something
is,
over
oh
it.
yeah, just modify it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
anyway.
just depends, I think, ultimately on how much money you want to request to do a project. Because
Yeah.
relocating septic will be expensive. And then if we're doing the repaving on top of that, we know that that is going to be, I mean, we're probably talking about six figures if we're looking at all of that potential work. So I think in
It'd be nice to
engineering
get
quoting
quotes in
out,
sections, you know,
yeah.
how much would that be included and not included? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Absolutely.
Janet's idea of, sorry, Janet. go
No,
ahead.
no, I think I'm agreeing with Janet. I think that's the way to go. Just put time to pieces and then, because it's not falling apart. It's just,
Yeah.
Unsightly.
right.
It's just it's part of my charge to look. I think Mary brought this up recently in one of the previous meetings, is that I'm thinking about if we don't end up renovating, we don't do an addition in the next 10 years, what is going to be kind of the biggest challenges that the library faces. I think the parking lot is in the top three of that list. Is that just it's not going to last forever? It's only going to get worse. So what do we kind of take the steps to do to mitigate that?
Yeah.
And I think I should work on this in the next year. We should come up with a more formalized proposal for engineering funds next year. That's my plan, if that's okay with all
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
Also might revisit whether we still need the berm with the cherry trees, because I think that was constructed to keep water from flowing off of Route 85 into our library, and I don't think that water is flowing off 85 anymore.
Yeah.
So that might be more parking, or move the parking over, or put some grass and benches, or
Yeah. The other thing Jason mentioned is that if we break this into pieces, he doesn't think, like down the road, if we can't get matching funds from the state, he doesn't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we could just fund an addition ourselves. You know, the town could fund it ourselves. If you break it into sections so that it's not too enormous at any one thing. And he says certainly the way to go is to get those engineering studies and the architectural things done so that you know what you're dealing with. So that's looking way down the road, but I thought that was interesting.
it is.
The other thing he mentioned about the parking lot too was that there may be an opportunity at some point in the future, depending on capital requests, that doing the library parking lot could be bundled with a larger townwide initiative. So that was something that I thought was interesting. I never thought about that potentiality before, or that would even be an option. So I think all of our eyes kind of perked up when he mentioned that, because I never even thought in those terms. So that
Right.
was interesting. So again, that kind of, for me
It's a
at
good
least,
conversation.
yeah, put me in more of a less of a rush, I would say. More or less of a rush. Does that make sense? So like that, I just, I don't know. I want to do this the right way. I think is very important to me. So
Yeah.
A lot of possibilities there.
And it makes perfect sense to wait and do it right. So thank you all for who went to that meeting.
Okay, where are we? Okay, so we're sort of
Holiday
coming in for
closures?
the finish here.
Well, wait, where does that leave us with the sidewalk?
yes, so the sidewalk is a separate, that was put on the agenda as a separate item. We spoke specifically with Jason about the capital piece, about whether or not the capital committee would want us to come and talk to them about this project. And I did speak briefly also with John, and obviously we already talked to DPW about it. If the price threshold is under 10,000 and we're not requesting town funds, Jason said that we're good to go.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to vote, somebody wants to make a motion, second, you all want to vote, we can proceed with that project.
I think that'd be good.
I'll make the motion.
Yes, Jane, who came up with a good idea in the first place.
Okay, so
I'll
for the
second you.
minutes, so Amy seconds. For the minutes, though, just if this is okay, the motion should be to remove the concrete path from the intersection of Route 30 and 85 that leads diagonally to the library's parking lot entrance.
Okay, mild correction, it's asphalt.
Asphalt, sorry, thank you.
And then, yes, and I would amend that also slightly to say to use library funds to remove it.
Yeah. We're
And
gonna
do
use
we-
state, sorry, Amy,
I
sorry.
just wondered if we needed to say that we're gonna reseed it and everything too, or just remove it.
DPW said they would help with that, so I'll confirm.
Okay, so I think the motion has been made and slightly amended. Do I have a second?
Amy seconded.
All right.
Okay.
All those in favor, Ms. Maney,
Aye.
Ms. Tinty,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Yazdani,
Aye.
Ms. Landry, aye, and Mr. Ekberg.
Aye.
All right, good. Finally, the
Okay.
little walk can be gone.
And then do you want to use state aid funds? That's what I would recommend using for this.
All right.
Okay.
Is that okay with everyone?
Shall we vote on that?
I don't think you have to, as long as you tell me where the money comes from.
Okay.
But you can if you want.
I
Let's
think
do a
I'm
separate
just going to
vote.
do it just because you never know. I'm going to make a motion that we use state aids funds to remove the small asphalt sidewalk at a diagonal from 85 and 30 into the book drop area.
I'll second it.
All
Do you
right.
wanna
that
say
was Amy. All right.
Remove and remediate?
Sorry?
Do you want to say remove and remediate?
That's
mean,
good.
include
Okay.
The
correct.
landscaping?
As amended, right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And to vote, Mr. Ekberg,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Tinty,
Aye.
Ms. Yazdani.
Aye.
Okay, and Ms. Maney and
Aye.
Ms. Landry, aye. There we go. Phew, that should be such a nice, better look.
Yeah.
Hope so.
What's happening with the bicycle rack?
That can stay.
I like it.
That's good.
That's not part of the asphalt path.
It's
Sorry, I
just-
called it concrete. I don't know.
Just
It's
getting rid
been,
of the path and trying to grow grass.
There you are.
yeah.
That's good.
That'll enhance the historic facade.
It will.
Exactly.
Too soon? Yeah, sorry.
No, never.
All right, do we have public comment today?
No, but so, sorry, we
Holidays?
still have stuff.
Find where I put the agenda. I had it right in
Yeah.
front of me.
There were, John was in the audience and there was a user named Jill Denrick who was in
Okay.
so we'll note that in the minutes. The person raised their hand. I told them to wait for public comment. They left right when you started the
Yeah.
preservation restriction comment.
What about the holiday closures?
So the
Yes,
holiday
thank
closure is super quick. I like to check in with you guys as we start planning for the holiday closures. So the SAP gives the SAP employees, of which most of the libraries fall under, not the library director anymore, but most of the library employees are given the Thanksgiving day and the day off after Thanksgiving. Because we split the staff on Friday, half full-time on Friday, half on Saturday, traditionally every year we give the Saturday off after Thanksgiving. So I wanted to check with you guys to make sure that this was still okay. You do not need to vote on this. You can delegate this to me, but I like one of the previous issues, I like to have your blessing before I move forward on this. The other things that have come up, this is really a staff request that they are relaying through me, and I will say that I agree with them at this point because we've tried this for years and it has not been successful. So I'll give you a little bit of feedback after I say it. But on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it falls in a night. We are open until 9 o'clock. The staff are asking if we can close at 5 o'clock on that day so that they can go and start the Thanksgiving break. I have mentioned in previous years, we're already getting Saturday off too. But Kim and I, for the past several years, have staffed that Wednesday night together. I don't normally work on Wednesday night. When we dismissed staff at 5 o'clock for the shift change, we had one patron looking for DVDs who stayed for 20 minutes until 5:20. For the rest of the night, we had no patrons for the entire evening, which is bizarre. So Kim looked at me and said, "Can you please talk to the trustees about this next year?" And we're coming up on almost a year. I remembered, and it has traditionally been like this where no one is here past
A
5 o'clock.
reasonable request.
Okay.
Yes.
The other thing that happens this year because of the calendar is on New Year's Eve. It also falls on an evening where we open until 9 o'clock. So as a refresher for December, the SAP gives Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. So that's a Wednesday and a Thursday this year. On the following week, New Year's Eve is, even though it's a national holiday, it's a day that we're open and that we work. But instead of having it be a 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. night, I would also like to do a 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and close at 5 p.m. on New Year's Eve. I worked New Year's Eve last year, same deal. We had like no patrons on in the previous years. This has been a repeat issue where we just don't have people who come in because it's a holiday.
Ryan,
makes
open
perfect
on
sense.
Friday and Saturday?
Everybody
sorry.
was sorry, but what Janet maybe because I heard her first.
For
Yeah,
New Year's, so New Year's Day is a Thursday. Are you open Friday and Saturday?
correct. We are.
Yeah, yeah, definitely take the evening off.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
Amy, I know you were trying to talk. Was
I
that
just said I agree. I think it
Okay.
makes perfect sense.
okay?
Ryan, if there are other times where the staff's there, but the patrons just aren't, jot them down because it might be interesting to think how we could, it's like 4-day tire stores. They're just open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? They just don't even bother with the rest of it. Maybe if it's like a dead time, we could.
I don't want you guys to think I'm trying to pull a fast one here. This is really based on years. And then I am always happy to work when I think it's going to be quiet because then I get stuff done. But like, especially that Thanksgiving week, we're noticing that other libraries are starting to do this as well. And I think it's because there's been a particular drop off in usage. To be fair, most people who use the library are either traveling to go to a Thanksgiving or they are cooking the Thanksgiving themselves. And I was always like, oh, this would be good for college students who are home to like get movies or get books. It's not
They don't do it.
happening. If they come in, they'll come in Tuesday night. We're still open Thanksgiving and that New Year's week until 9 o'clock the Tuesday before. And I'll be here those nights because I work Tuesdays. So
That'd be good.
Besides-
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying those young people are streaming. They're not getting videos anymore. So
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, the way families are now with splits and all that stuff, some people do Thanksgiving on Friday, some do it on Wednesday night, some, let's just,
in previous years, the Veterans Day has been on if it falls on a Friday, that's created issues. This year it's on a Tuesday. So also we don't have a weekend issue for that particular day. But thank you. I'm always inclined to be open, and the staff have given me feedback that not that it's a waste of time, but just that there's limited things to do before a holiday, and that I think everybody's focus is on.
Right, they want to be home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just to support all of this too, I remember this conversation in real time right after Thanksgiving. And we used last Thanksgiving as kind of like the last in a data point collection. And so this is just returning to that and using that information wisely.
If you wanted to hear from Kim next month, I mean, she'd be happy to come and talk about this. She does Wednesday nights, but
Kim, my
she
God.
feels strongly and she's not wrong. Yeah,
No,
I
she's
support her.
not.
Yeah.
I think
or
most
if there's any other places where it just makes a lot of sense.
I think most businesses and organizations close early that night anyway. Like I think like most offices also recognize this, and there's often like a 2 o'clock or noon cutoff. So.
Yeah.
It's a holiday. There it is.
Yes,
that's right.
Time for your family.
As far as the preliminary budget discussion, we haven't received any budget documents from the town at this point. But I wanted to check in with you guys as far as putting together an initial FY27 budget. I heard Mr. Ekberg's comment on the lack of professional development funds So that's definitely something we can take a look at. I didn't know if anybody else had any programming. Oh, sorry. That's a Freudian
Programming,
slip.
Yes,
programming.
Any
programming.
budgetary things that they wanted to increase this year. Sorry, I meant budget, not programming, but I gave myself away. Sorry. So, okay.
I
I
agree
just
So
want to
with
say that there
David.
have been a couple of things that have come to the Friends that the Friends have funded happily, but are also turning into sort of like repetitive asks. And the Friends funds are not quite as robust as we would all like them to be. We're trying to build those up again. But these are programs that are really good for our library. And so I don't know if those can, I would fully support trying to put more money in the programming budget so that we're not relying on the Friends for those things that have been successful and that we want to continue doing.
yeah.
Agreed.
Good, and apropos of that, the Southborough Library Fund, which started in, I think, 2011 with some other funds coming in and then has been invested, is at $97,000. And I think we should stop just sitting on it. I think we should start spending it on programming.
Well, it's nice to have money in the pocket for future things we want to do, but send some of it on programming. Yeah.
I think a couple thousand, it's being taken out at what is it, Ryan? It's going into the line at $2,000.
I think it's going
month?
into donations, right? Aren't we
At
getting it into?
$2,000 a quarter, I forget.
Yeah. So, like Mary said, we kind of call those operational expenses
Yeah.
once they teeter on an annual, an incremental annual ask. So I think kind of factoring out some of those operational expenses for programming and seeing what are the opportunities to spend out of the budget. I think that what Marguerite said, there's opportunities with that particular fund, but we can also look at what the annual budget ask is for and see if that could be increased because we're only doing more and more programming, it feels like every year.
I just feel like it should be, no one should say, oh, you can't do professional development because there's not enough money, or we can't do this program because it's too expensive. I think we have
Right.
a
Well, we should also
small,
try to put professional development increases in the budget.
yep,
I agree, because
Yeah.
it is something that
Yeah.
should be supported by the town.
Yes.
And I just also, this goes without saying, but I think our staff is really special. I think Mariana does a really amazing job in trying to offer things for a certain age group, our teenagers, our soon to be teens. And the space that we are able to allocate that, the physical space, does not match other libraries. It doesn't match what these programs deserve. And so if we can at least throw more money at making sure the successful programs get to live on and reach these kids, I think that could be a really good thing.
Mhm.
Yes, agreed.
Okay.
so maybe we could just everybody keep their ears open for something that might be good where priorly we would have said, oh, it's too much money.
Mhm.
And
Well,
just,
I think I may be coming back to you guys at some point with Kim would like to continue the graphic novel workshop.
That's what I'm thinking
And
about
I know
specifically,
that
and
was
Dungeons and
Mary was
Dragons
saying,
too.
yeah, Mary was saying it without saying it, but we've been doing it for a number of years now, and the issue is that the vendor, we can't keep paying the vendor from grant funds because now it's a recurring annual program. So we're looking at that, like how to structure that
that's
moving
a
forward.
good candidate, I would think.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
And others, right? Because we have been used to being very thrifty with the programming. And
Yeah. Okay. That gives me some feedback on putting it together for next year. I think I'm pretty comfortable with our database list at the moment. And then hopefully we're going to see increases in usage with the revised website. That's what I'm hoping, because it'll be a little bit easier to find everything. So, Okay, I think that's it for me. That was enough. It's been a long one. Sorry.
It's been fruitful discussions though, I think, and I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to getting the preservation restriction put to bed. Finally. It's been educational anyway. So listen, thank you everybody, and
Okay.
I will see you. Next meeting is the 20th of
Oh,
October.
oh, is it?
That's what I have down, but I don't know if it's
Yeah,
right.
because the second would have been a holiday, so we have to do the third next month. So it's October 20th.
Oh,
Good,
right.
good. All right.
Can you make it, Janet?
I can do that. I can't do the November one.
Okay. November, it's going to be on the 10th. It goes back to the second week.
Yeah.
I cannot make the October one,
You can't make the October one?
correct?
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to look at a revised meeting date, Jane, or are you okay if we meet?
I mean, I don't, it's fine, I have to be somewhere that day and not do it.
Okay. I'm happy to meet with you after and go over any of the meeting details, if that would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
would be great, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So don't change it, just have our schedule.
Okay.
Hang on one second. I'm sorry. Janet, did you say you could make the October meeting?
I'm fine in October. It's
Great.
November. I can't.
The only reason I double checked that is because I'm down to make it. I can't remember the reason, but there is no school that Monday. So I don't foresee an issue, but in case you weren't going to have a quorum, I just kind of wanted to raise that.
Yeah.
But I'm planning on making it, but there is no
Okay.
school that day. So,
Maisie can sit in on the meeting and
oh yeah, she
begin
can
to
color right.
train.
She just started playing the cello. She'll be playing in the other room and happily
Great.
so, I
I
think.
think the
So
cello
there you
might
go.
be bigger than she is, though, right?
Yeah, it's cute.
All right, should I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
All
Second.
right, I motion to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor, let's do Mr. Eckberg,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Okay.
Ms. Tindy,
Bye.
Ms. Yazdani,
Aye.
Ms. Maney,
Aye.
Ms. Landry. Aye. Thank you, everyone. And I think we made some progress today, so let's see how it goes. All right. Be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.